Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and I hope all of you are doing absolutely fantastic because, as promised, today we are delivering a Bethesda Game Studios news update. We have a lot to get into. We have Starfield Shattered Space and where we're finally going to see it next, which likely indicates where and when we will get a release date. We're also going to talk about Starfield's second expansion, which a name may have leaked via a trademark listing. And last but certainly not least, Elder Scrolls 6 location continues to get confirmed over and over, where our great assumption is that it's going to be set in Hammerfell. And we have yet another indication of that, where this leak arrived in a very strange manner. We'll get into that. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with Bethesda Game Studios, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's start off at the top, where Xbox announced recently on their Wire post all new details for their largest Gamescom yet. It's going on from August 21st to the 25th, and it's here that they promise one thing in particular that I think Starfield fans will find interesting. We will also host exclusive theater presentations of Avowed, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Starfield, the Shattered Space. What this indicates is exactly what we predicted in our last Starfield video. It's there we sat down and we went, things are quiet. Too quiet. What's going on? When's the next move being made? Why are they being quiet, etc., etc.? Well, now we know when we're going to see Starfield next. It's going to be at Gamescom August 21st. It's there. We'll likely get a new trailer. We'll also get a release date. And when it's dropping is going to be interesting because right now the rumor is that Avowed's going to get a slight delay. They're creating room in that holiday period. Where does Starfield slot in? I think the best thing they can do for the game to reignite that hype is show like a brand new free update coming to the game with maybe the vehicles, drop that in and be like, hey, in just a week or two, you're going to get the next Starfield expansion and have it drop sometime in like early September if they can pull that off. That way you're ahead of all of the holiday fall craze where you have games like Dragon Age the Veilguard and Metaphor ReFantazio and Sonic and Avowed potentially if it doesn't get delayed and Indiana Jones and Call of Duty. And there's so many things coming out, so much competition. We all have only so much time. Even if you do this forever and ever and ever, you only have so much time in a given day. So where can Starfield stand on its own 2 feet and have a good chance to bring some players in? I think September is the easy call here. So we'll see, but of course the news is that we're going to get these sorts of answers at Gamescom as we expected. So you can look forward to that, and I'm very excited to see more because that first trailer was sick, and now we're going to likely get vehicles, and we're going to get this like one landmass and get to go from point A to point B without any sort of travel or loading screens. It's going to be great. I can't wait. So I'm looking forward to that, but what I'm also looking forward to is what Bethesda does after this. This is funny timing because in our Starfield video we just did, one of the question marks I had was, hey, what's next? As in, we already had the confirmation that Starfield will get a second expansion at the very least. But I was also wondering, like, is this new expansion going to set up what's happening in expansion 2? Is it going to be a continuous story through the expansions, or is it going to be plucking something out from the base game that really wasn't expanded upon because they plan to do so in DLC? Well, right now we at least have somewhat of an idea potentially in that we see Starborn trademark details have been listed on Justia. This is like, I don't know how else to put this, Bethesda Leaks 101. If you've watched Matty for years, you've already done this before. You've seen Justia, you've seen Bethesda do it again. Let me list a couple examples. Void Engine, which many of us thought was a brand new engine that they were going to make Elder Scrolls 6 on. It turned out to be the engine they made Dishonored 2 on, and obviously Deathloop afterwards. Redfall, many people thought this was the name for the next Elder Scrolls game. We know what Redfall ended up being. How about Starfield? That's how we started our conversation with Starfield, was through a trademark listing. We knew they were going to make this new sci-fi game. When was it going to happen? It had to be Bethesda Game Studios, and then they delivered that. So this is Bethesda Leaks 101. You could pretty much take this to the bank as like, this will likely be the next expansion name for Starfield. And what that means is it's based around your main character more than anything. And I don't want to spoil Starfield's story. I'll just say that I think this is going to pick up in an area that the very tail end of the game left off with, where they asked some pretty big questions. They indicated that there are answers out there, but you don't really get them in the base game. So it seems like my prediction may be coming true, but again, I won't spoil that. We'll save that conversation for when Bethesda's ready to market it more so, and then dive into spoilers then, because it's all fair game at that point, baby. So yeah, Starborn is likely year 2's expansion name, and I'm curious to see how frequent the updates land for Starfield, as Todd already told me in my interview with him that we're not going to hit that 6-week cadence. So how do things speed up or slow down as we approach Expansion 2, how big is Expansion 2? Is it going to release around the same time period as Expansion 1, which seemingly is like September, October range? How long does it get? We'll find all of that out shortly, but at least we have some information here on what Expansion 2 will be based around, and I have my theories already. Very excited to see where they take things. Last but not least, Elder Scrolls 6. All right, so there's been numerous breakdowns, mine included, online about where this game will be set. It was one of the biggest question marks when the game was announced in 2018. Well, the biggest deduction we've had consistently is that it will be Hammerfell. As I've covered in videos pre-Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, Bethesda Game Studios practically communicated to us in the lore that there was an ongoing war, an ongoing feud building up in Hammerfell, and knowing Bethesda Game Studios, where they always do Easter eggs of what Game 2 will be, this showed to me personally, like, all right, this is likely where they're looking. Then we get the reveal trailer and we see there, okay, this looks like what we think Hammerfell would look like. But then it gets interesting because now we have a Bethesda Game Studios employee whose Pinterest account leaked. And that Pinterest account, if you've paid attention to Elder Scrolls lore, Redguard lore, Hammerfell lore, whether it's ESO or just what you've read or characters you've seen in the games, you know the appearance of these characters, you know what these areas look like. And so you see here in the Pinterest account, images of all sorts of equipment that would match the setting, characters that would be more Redguard reminiscent. You have weapons that would really be familiar within that location itself. And of course, last but not least, you see more sandy, deserty, rocky areas, followed up by a lot of water. And one of the big points of speculation for the Elder Scrolls 6 community that I've really kind of co-signed here is that you don't do a big spaceship building thing in Starfield to just leave it there. If the settlement mode taught us anything about Bethesda Game Studios, like they build things once and then tried to figure out how to iterate upon them in all their games. So you build settlement mode in Fallout 4, you bring in the 76, then you bring in the Starfield, and I have no doubt it'll be brought into Elder Scrolls 6. Okay, so you built this new spaceship building thing that was built off the back of the settlement stuff. So what do you do next? You bring in boat building, ship building, inside Elder Scrolls 6, where you see the water here is going to play a big factor. And really the running theory has been fortified that this will be Hammerfell because of Bethesda themselves. If you don't remember this, one of the first videos we did in 2021 was about how Bethesda kind of confirmed it would be set in Hammerfell and no one was talking about it. And the fact that this rumor gained traction once more shows that still people are not really registering it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up again just to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's here. You'll see here in this image that you have the past, present, and future. This was posted for New Year's Eve on the Elder Scrolls account. And you see the past is Elder Scrolls Online. The present was in Skyrim, like the present mainline Elder Scrolls game. And then the future, where you see one light, one candle, is sitting square in Hammerfell, unexplored on the bottom left corner of the screen. You combine that with the lore in Skyrim, you combine that with the visuals we've already seen, like Bethesda's not being coy about this at all. Now, what is kind of fascinating about all this is, given what happened with this news, I thought like, okay, this person's Pinterest account is just gonna run wild and that'll be it. They actually privated it afterwards. So that is no longer available for people to peruse, likely because they didn't want to have any indication of what certain environments would inspire, what we would see in Hammerfell, and just to not give anyone any sort of clue. The question mark does loom in that, will Elder Scrolls 6 be like a all-encompassing Tamriel experience? I say that because you look at the tech built in Starfield and how procedural it was, and how you could effectively have your modern-day Daggerfall with the Starfield tech. It would be difficult to pull off, but it'd be very Bethesda Game Studios coded. I still think they're going to have that more centralized locational focus for the Elder Scrolls 6. And if I were to make a prediction, I see, with a lot of water and potential ships being involved, that I think maybe the Iliac Bay would be a good central point here for what you'd see in Elder Scrolls 6, where you get one part of the end of Hammerfell, and you could even get a little Daggerfall, honestly, because one thing we did see in the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer was greenery. We did see a decent amount of greenery there on top of the very like rocky terrain. And so you wonder if like you kind of have both ends of really important parts of the Elder Scrolls world, like the beginning of where this series really took off, and then the newest thing. That would be kind of cool as well. So there's a lot of speculation to kind of feed these theories, but at the root of this rumor is just more suggestions, more confirmation that Hammerfell and Redguards will be at the center of this storyline. And I'm very looking forward to that because I think it's going to be very different from what we've seen traditionally with Elder Scrolls, right? Like you get the Imperials in the Imperial City with something like Oblivion, but then you get the Nords, that more kind of Viking feel in Skyrim. In Morrowind, it was really more about the elves, in my opinion. Like they got a real spotlight there. So I think it's a good time for the Redguards to get their turn in the spotlight to tell a different kind of story here. No doubt, I imagine that the internet will completely misinterpret Bethesda's intentions with making Redguards and Hammerfell the center of a conflict in 2026 or whenever this game comes out. I'm sure everyone's media literacy will stand the test of time with that one. We'll see in due time. Hopefully there isn't a dramatic reaction, but I'm really looking forward to it. And that's all I got for you when it comes to Bethesda Game Studios and the leaks that are heating up and the news that's heating up. There's a lot going on here, but what we can really count on is soon we're going to learn about Shattered Space, and we'll see what comes afterwards with Starborn. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below, so fire away. Take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.